And good morning, or should I say good afternoon because it's 12 p.m. now. Feels like it's still morning. Welcome. Today we are here to talk about when holidays hurt. So we're going to have it as a conversation today instead of just kind of asking a lot of questions. As I included myself in this interview, which I'm never interviewing myself. And so I was like, oh, I need to think through the questions that we sent. So we're just going to kind of talk about grief during the holidays and what we do to ground ourselves and to overcome and what truths we kind of hold on to. And just hopefully we give you a word of encouragement too. So I will let everybody introduce themselves. My name is, I'll start, sorry. Uh, my name is Lauren Rose, and I work for Call to Peace as a communications coordinator. And I am in my Christmas shirt today. This says Joy. I got it from the King and Country, from King and Country Concert. And on the back it says, I choose joy. Joy is something that we choose. And so I remember that. And I believe it comes from the spirits of freedom too. But there's ways we can choose joy. I do believe that, and I'll talk about that today. So, Brooke, your turn.
Awesome. My name is Brooke. My clothing for today is something silly. I like silly Christmas stuff. That's part of how I help myself enjoy the holidays is I act silly and
I love it.
Takes a little the edge off. My name is Brooke. I work for Call to Peace Ministries as an advocate coordinator along with my lovely sidekick, Porscha. And yeah, so I'm excited to be here and just talk about holidays and all kinds of stuff. So
hello, everybody. Happy early Christmas. So I am Porscha Green. I'm with Call to Peace Ministries as the advocate coordinator. I work alongside these beautiful ladies here, and I'm excited to talk about grief. Even though grief sounds like a little blah, it's down there, but we're gonna give you something to hold on to today.
Yes. This should be a good conversation. And we thought about this as we were talking about coming on doing a live. We planned this a couple weeks ago. Actually, I think back in November. um, is that holidays a lot of times can really magnify grief. And Christmas isn't always very merry for everybody. Especially when you face significant losses. Sometimes, your family doesn't look the way you thought it should, whether, you're missing a family member or you've gone through brokenness through domestic abuse or whatever it is. Holidays just can be a reminder of that and really trigger that grief. And sometimes, especially as domestic abuse survivors, or if you're missing somebody because of abuse, it feels very lonely and isolating because people don't really understand that grief. And there's not really people reaching out and supporting you in that grief unless they've been through it themselves. And so we want to be here to let you know that we see you, we support you, and not only that, God sees you and supports you. So I'm looking forward to just kind of talking about this and being to provide comfort of things that we've done to find Jesus in the losses. So I guess we could go ahead and get started. So I'll let maybe we should just go around in a circle. We can let Brooke and Porscha go, and then we'll each just kind of share from our own heart and life. So which one would like to go first? And if you're in the comments, if you're watching, just say hello. We love to see where you're watching from, and share this with a friend that you think may find this encouraging. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brooke.
No, you're awesome. Yeah, so I was contemplating this morning, and I was thinking through, and my parents were divorced when I was about 3 months old, and so I've actually never had a Christmas without divorce impacting it. And so I was just thinking about that because as a child, I was the only child of my parents' marriage, and so I was the only kid I knew. I went to private school, so I was the only kid I knew who had divorce in her life. And my own sister wasn't dealing with that. And it was a very unique experience for me growing up. I always felt very much like I was on the outside. I didn't share a last name with the family I lived with. I would go visit my grandparents, and we shared a last name, but they weren't the people who I lived with. And it was just always a very much of living in the sorrow and the joy. And like, I loved Christmas Eve. My grandparents had a huge party on Christmas Eve and invited everyone from the family, but my closest people weren't there. So my mom, my dad, my stepdad, my sister, they weren't there with me. And I can remember crying and saying, I just wish you guys could come and hang out with us and enjoy this piece, but they weren't that part of my family. And so I've navigated this kind of my whole life. It was interesting as I was thinking about it, because when I always felt like an outcast. Like I didn't belong in that family. I didn't belong in my family. And it was really difficult. And so a few years ago, I was reading through the genealogy of Christ for Advent with my kids. And I noticed that there were these 4 women in the genealogy of Christ. And it just completely blew my mind because there's Tamar, there's Bathsheba. She's not mentioned by name, Rahab, and Ruth, right? I was just looking at this morning. And these are not women who I would have said, let's pull these women out of, and put them on center stage. And yet God said, these women are important and I want them to be part of the story. And all of a sudden I felt very, very seen because here is Bathsheba and she's, David's wife, but she didn't get there in the normal way, and then Tamar had relations with her father-in-law, and like all of these. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, you see the outcasts and you bring them in and you say, you know what? I'm not going to put these in the closet. I'm going to put them on center stage and I'm going to change the story that even they thought they were telling. And so it has made life in general more, I want to say easy because it's not easy, but I just feel more seen by God because of the story that he tells during Christmas.
That's good, Brooke.
Yeah.
I want to follow up with Brooke on that because you like you said that grieving is not easy during the holiday, but I really believe that if you look at the Beatitudes, it says blessed are the meek, but prior to that it says bless those who are mourned because they're comforted. And one thing that myself, I feel like my family and the way things were was never normal. Like my dad didn't live in home with me. I had always had family. And recently this past week, I was thinking about my grandmother, and because I lost my grandmother earlier this year, and how as a family, especially growing up, we always gather at my grandmother's house on the day of Christmas, or we will gather at someone's house on Christmas. But I was just reflecting on those times where like we had Christmas at my grandma's house, we had Christmas at someone's house, but this year we won't have Christmas with my grandmother. And I just literally felt that, I allowed myself to feel that. And that is something that I I've I've probably been doing probably all my life and never noticed it. That I allow myself to feel it. And it says blessed that the blessed who are those who mourn for their comfort. To me, that's actually permission. Jesus was giving us permission to feel whatever we're feeling, and you'll be comforted. Like oftentimes we try to, okay, I'm okay. Like,
Yep.
Okay, like I'll get through this. But what if we allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling, normalize that feeling, and allow for whatever it needs to happen, whether it be with God himself or the people who see you. Because there are people who see you. They see what you're experiencing. They see what you're feeling. They see what you're doing. What if we allowed ourselves to mourn and allow those people who see us and who sees us, who sees all things, to comfort us in this season? Because there's so many things. There's memories that can comfort us. There's experiences that can comfort us. And we'll probably get a little bit more into that. But what if we allow ourselves to mourn? It's so much more freeing, and we're blessed by it because we allow ourselves to be here in the present moment and feel what we need to feel. And like I was a little iffy about, getting together in a large group with my family this year, even though we usually do that. And I was like, you know what, no matter if it's, I feel like I don't want to, or if it feels like an inconvenience, or I have to drive a little distance, during the holidays, it's on a Sunday, I'm going to allow myself to be around my family. And whatever happens in that setting, especially since, we lost one of our matriarch, I'm going to allow myself to feel. I'm going to allow myself to feel what I need to be felt. For us to laugh, because when we get around my family, we laugh, we joke, we just enjoy each other. And so we can be more blessed by actually mourning than we can be through suppressing. Um,
Mm.
and that's what I'm taking. I want to give you all.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's so beautiful, Portia, because I think that is such a part of, I know that's part of what I struggled with as a child. I would go to my grandparents' house and I would be sad, and people would be like, "Why are you sad? Don't be sad. It's Christmas Eve." And I would be like, but my family's not here. And there was the suppression of my emotions. And so I really learned that I wasn't allowed to feel what I felt. And so I boxed that all up and it, got put away. And a lot of what I'm working on in therapy right now is actually feeling what I feel. So I'm so appreciative of that reminder, even to sit in that grief, to sit in the losses. My kids and I, we celebrate Christmas on a different day from any of the days that we go to other families' houses, because I want us to have a Christmas that allows for that, allows for like, we wish dad was here, we wish that he was different than he is, and I want them to be able to say those things and feel those things and not be, no one to be saying, you should be so grateful because you have a mom. Well, yeah, but they're, they don't have a dad and they're feeling
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And I think it's okay to sit with our friends in grief too, and not try to make everything better for them. And I think so
Mhm,
many times we'd be like, why are you grieving? You have this, you have so much to look at in
mhm,
life, and God put you at this. But it kind of feels like it makes you feel guilty. Sometimes you
mhm,
internalize things that you shouldn't feel those things, that you have
mhm,
too much. And think about that. But it's okay to acknowledge our losses, like you're saying, and to feel those, and to surround ourselves with people that allow us to feel what we feel without telling us that we can't feel what we feel,
mhm,
and
mhm,
and it's important too when people share these things with you, is don't always assume that you understand their situation and understand the ins and outs of how much they're grieving, but to give them space and hold for them, because you don't really know their whole life story. We don't really know everybody's
mhm.
whole life story. You
Right,
don't know
right,
all
yeah,
that this emotion could be tied to. This one small thing that may seem very small to you may be tied to something that's so significant that if you knew, it would truly break your heart too. So
mhm,
just give other grace and space to feel those things.
yeah. 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 When I think about it too, as we're, we are an organization grieving the loss of Nicole, and how much even our grieving process has been a blessing to me, because we have all given space. We have not said, oh, don't, I mean, no suppressing of it, just letting it out. And like, we can say whatever we want. We've had several meetings where we just talk, it's just talking about that loss that we feel. And that has been so healing for me in the grieving process of being able to say, oh, I can just say, this is what I remember about Nicole, and it's okay. Nobody else, like, it doesn't have to be connected to anything, and everyone's there for that. They're there to hear me share that. And that has, that's something like, oh yeah, I can take this to my kids too and say, hey, what do you remember about dad? Do you want to talk about that? And not be afraid to let us feel those
Mm.
emotions.
Right. Yeah.
I love that, giving our kids permission to, because I think so many times if we don't give ourselves permission to feel, we're not going to give our kids permission to feel. You only can extend grace to others for the grace and the compassion you extend to yourself. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
so if you feel you have to shove, you're going to think your kids have to shove.
Yeah.
So it's okay to work on ourselves so that we can then say to our kids and let them feel everything, even though it may be painful or hard to hear. Just let
Mhm.
them feel it too.
Well, that's such a great point too, Lauren, because what it occurred to me as you said that was, um, this is, it really, really shocked me, but that's what my parents are doing, right? My parents aren't feeling their pain. And that's why they
Mm.
felt like I needed to not feel mine. Because if I sat there and wept or mentioned my sorrow, then they had to start picking up and figuring out, where theirs was, because it was going to touch them too. That's really
Mhm.
helpful to think about that as I navigate the holidays with my parents and think about, oh, they're not experiencing this and it's okay. Like, comes out of their way of coping, but just being able to see them more wholly.
Yeah.
Mm.
And on the other side of that too is like when we learn to feel or learn to heal and learn to cope, like we unknowingly give other people
Yeah.
permission to do the same.
Mhm.
Um, because people see us, like people
Yeah.
hear us, like they experience us in our full self. And
Mhm.
when they see us taking on um the role of taking control of your healing process, like that
Mhm.
gives them permission to do the same. Like
Yeah.
it's tough. Like think about like if we actually feel the feelings now, like life is gonna keep happening.
Mhm.
We just have no control of that. Life is
Mhm.
going to keep happening, but if we feel what we need to feel now, when life happens, it won't add to that grief and pain that may occur later.
Yeah.
And because life is bound to life.
Mhm.
And we are capable of handling things in the future
Mhm.
better when we feel what we need to feel now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We're much more blessed in that manner. Um, yeah, that's all I have.
No, that's really good. And it actually, I think it works the other way too, because I was just thinking about the retreat we were on with Lauren. And she, if you guys don't know Lauren well, Lauren loves life, loves everything about life, is always happy. Not always. I shouldn't say she's always happy. I should say that she's often very joyful.
Yes.
And it's
I
contagious. Like we were doing this whitewater river rafting thing, and she was so excited that you couldn't stop laughing because she was enjoying herself so much.
Yes.
And the beauty of it is
yes.
that it goes the other way. I've seen Lauren cry. I've seen her, and so she does both well. And I appreciate that about her because it's wonderful to see somebody who loves life and embraces it, but also can say, this moment I have to stop and be sad.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
definitely. And I think, like we were talking about too, I think that so many times, and some things on my heart, and thinking about this is like Christmas is so idolized by our culture.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
do believe Christmas is a time of celebrating Jesus.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
truly, if you look at birth, it came out of really great sorrow and suffering.
Yes.
Like, if you think about all that Mary probably experienced
Yeah.
and all that she went through, it may not have, I mean, I'm sure she was joyous that Jesus was born, but
Yep.
it may not have been all just joy and excitement and Mary, Mary, Mary. It was kind of like probably a lot of questioning and grief and sorrow. We don't know that
Mhm.
her family accepted her or believed her.
Mhm.
It doesn't tell us
Right.
things. We don't know if she was even isolated from her own family or ostracized. We don't know those things. But like
Mhm.
so many times we highlight this is what it means to celebrate Christ. When in
Yeah.
reality, life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is filled with loss. It's filled with
Mhm.
pain. It's filled with grief. And it doesn't. I always used to remember telling my therapist, I just want life to get good, like just to settle at a place where it's just really easy and great. She's like, can you define that? And I start defining it. She's like, that doesn't exist. you know, I'm sorry, you know,
Yeah.
it just,
For a moment.
yeah, just for a moment and then it disappears.
Yes.
But, yeah, so I just think that it's understanding too that like it doesn't the world's way isn't God's way. And it's
Yeah.
okay that we if you're in Christmas that it's hard or
Yeah.
that we're suffering the losses of things, but it's Jesus and knowing that he's here and that redemption is coming and
Yeah.
he's loving on us and redeeming us and working things out together for good in our lives and for the good of other people that gives us hope and gives us joy. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's just shifting our mindset of what Christmas really means. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt and we can't grieve because we can't, some people are isolated from their kids during Christmas or their
Yeah.
parents or churches. And it's painful to even go to church because maybe their church has excommunicated them for leaving abuse. You know, all types of stuff. But
Mhm.
Jesus is there. Real
Mhm.
Christmas is about Jesus coming for the broken. He went to the
Mhm.
shepherds. Y'all, the shepherds were outcast people. I
That's
looked
right.
them up. They were
Yes.
thieves. They were considered pretty bad people. But Jesus' birth came to them in the field and said,
Mhm.
behold, fear not. I bring you great tidings of great joy. You know, he's got joy for them. It wasn't
Yeah.
that life's going to be great. You're going to run back in there and everybody's going to love and accept you and you're going to be able to go into community. It's like, no, Jesus came for you. He sees you. He loves you. He's here with you. You're no longer alone. You may
Yeah.
feel rejected. Jesus is not rejecting you. He is there. And so that's just kind of my thoughts to you is also just
Mhm.
shifting constantly and submitting our mind to letting it transform from the flesh to that
Mhm.
of the spirit, which is eternal. So
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's so good. So good, Lauren. I have
Yeah.
chills just hearing that. Like
Yeah.
I just came, God.
shifting our focus is so important. Like this is about Jesus who brought joy to the world, like
Mhm.
literally.
Yes.
And he, like, even at the thought of him and what he came to do in this world, and that the sacrifices that he made and that he suppressed his desire for temptation so that we may be free in so many areas of our lives. And he laid out his life for us. Like just the thought of all the things that Jesus did. Like his mom was an outcast. I keep hearing outcast. Outcast is a trend here in this setting.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that there? Mary was an outcast. He was an outcast. Like and like even in the midst of that, like he still at the thought of him and what he did here in the earth and what he did so that we may have life and life more abundantly, like it's just the thought of that brings joy. And when we shift our focus of the true reason for the season, what is Christ, like it can shift our perspective so much. Like when we draw him to him, we worship in him in that morning when we're worshiping and acknowledging what he's done in our life. um it may not feel good, but all things like work together for our good, like literally. Like there's so much, it might not feel good in the moment, but God is working things out for us. And in life, have more life to live and more life to enjoy, and to grow in and be and feel loved by God. Yes. So just hearing, that you bringing us back and shifting literally shifted our our conversation, but it's so good to hear that Jesus is truly the reason for the season.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and bringing it down to practical is all the things that you're saying, like, because you guys are both talking about like focusing on Christ. And so then in the practical of Christmas, how do we let go of the things that are not necessary and focus, let us give ourselves permission to do the things that actually bring us joy in the season, right? Because some of us were married at some point in time and maybe we were full-time moms, or at least we had a lot more help and freedom around the house. And so we did a lot, during our Christmas season. And now as a single mom, you're navigating a world where there isn't as much bandwidth, and you've got all of these children and you're navigating their emotions and your emotions. And those are real things that you have to spend time, or it's good for you to spend time feeling and doing. And so looking at your life and saying, what isn't bringing me joy in this season? How do I not, like I can give myself space to not go do that Christmas party with such and such, because it's not going to bring me closer to Christ this season. Now, like I didn't send out Christmas cards this year. And I told a couple friends, like, I hope next year I'm back to that place where I can do that. But I had to give myself permission this year to just say, it's not a Christmas card year. It's just not, and be okay, and not beat myself up and be like, oh, but if I was a better person, or if I managed my time better, if I did, no, you know what? This is just not my year for that. And it's okay.
Yes, I haven't done Christmas cards in 2 years. I'm just like, I don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
I have a box of
I love
Christmas cards I
everybody,
meant
but I
to
don't.
send out last year.
Yeah,
Yes.
not every Christmas thing. And, I have all these friends whose kids are in concerts and stuff. And I just had to be like, this year's not my year for that, and it's not my lack of love for you. It's I don't have capacity this year. And even restructuring your life, because there are relationships you had prior when you were married that you were obligated to, that now maybe you don't have to. And so how do you navigate those well, and love that person, but also love you, and choose what's good for you too? Because that's really been part of my healing, is where do my boundaries extend, and what do I not have to do because I'm not, I'm learning that that's not good for me. It's not the best thing for myself. And so who do I get to say no to? And how do I, sometimes it's not no, sometimes it's limiting an interaction, saying, well, we'll come, but only for an hour, and being very true to ourselves, and communicating that to my kids. Like, we're going to go to this person's house, but it's not going to be like it used to be, asking them, my kids, like, what do you guys want to do that's going to be fun and enjoyable? And let's go do that thing. What is that? For one of my kids, she loves going, and I love going and looking at the Christmas lights in the car, just, people's displays in their yard. And this year that's really one of the things she wants to do. And so it's just me and my kids, we get in the car, we get some Starbucks, and we just drive around for an hour until everybody gets crabby, and then we go home. And but that's something that my kids actually want to do, and rather than that Christmas party with that part of my family or those friends or whatever else. So that's been really a blessing.
Really good. I love it that you're saying that you're doing something you actually really want to do, and how
Mhm.
you can find so much joy in doing what you actually really want to do. So if you actually really just want to lay up on the couch and watch Christmas movies all day, do it. Like if you
Absolutely.
actually want to go out and, like Brooke said, see Christmas lights, or go out and do Christmas caroling with your neighbors, like whatever that looks like. If you want to go to the homeless shelter and love on some people who don't have families this year, like whatever
Mhm.
that looks like for you, just being okay with that. And some things like um, when your families change and you transition into having that family of your own, what I've learned is that it's okay to do things the way your family wants to do them.
Mhm.
And like
Mhm.
if y'all want to open all your Christmas presents on Christmas Eve, do that. Like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
want to stay up all night and do whatever, bake cookies all night, whatever it is you do,
Mhm.
find whatever works for you and your family, whatever works for you. Is so
Mhm.
important. Whatever brings you joy is the key.
Yeah.
Finding joy in this season, I believe, is so important. And
Mhm.
whatever that looks like for you, I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna do what I want to do this Christmas Eve. We have a tradition where we all open one present on Christmas Eve, and enjoy and it just have our good time. But you know, my family has changed a little bit this year, so who knows what might else happen this year as a result. So I'm finding comfort in just doing what I truly love to do,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and being content with that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Love that.
It is.
Reducing expectations of ourselves. I find the expectations of myself ruin my joy because I
Yeah.
do something and I was just like, I should have done this better. Or I should have done this. It's just like, let it go. Don't take on mom guilt. Don't take on guilt. Reduce your expectations and enjoy the good that you can have and the things that do give you joy and that you get to experience. But don't be like, I should do this more or do that. Just
Mhm.
let it go. Breathe.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things I've been wrestling and trying to do better too, is that being okay with like what Portia said, just if this day is my couch day, this is my couch day. This is my bed day. Like I just can't get out of bed today. Instead of beating
Mhm.
myself up, just doing it and then letting those emotions actually feel those things. And that has been it's part of the healing process I'm going through right now. Is like, okay, it's okay, all these emotions, and then making space, for all of these other pieces. And expectations are hard too, because during the season, some mamas don't get their babies on Christmas or Christmas Eve. They have to push their holiday around, and that's another piece of like, how do we begin to navigate a world in which there's so much loss, um, and if you're listening and you're not doing this, I just want to encourage you that there are a lot of single moms out there who are spending Christmas by themselves, Christmas or Christmas Eve, New Year's or New Year's Eve, and they're yearning to be with someone. And if you could open your home to them, I can't tell you
Mhm.
what kind of blessing that is, because often our own families are not a safe place for us. And so having a place where Jesus is being honored, where friends are loving on us and we get to love on them and we get to laugh, and that is a huge blessing. And I can think of friends right now that I know will not have their kids for the holidays, and they're wondering where they're going to go. And this is, it's a week away, so just really, if you have that capacity, inviting one of your single friends over and letting them enjoy that with you would just be a huge blessing to them. So,
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah.
Creating community is important. Yeah.
Yeah. One of
oh,
the ways I find joy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I
No,
was gonna
nope.
say,
You're
Tina
in
said
a.
she went and saw Elf.
I
I'll
was
get
just looking at that too.
I love that. I love Tina, by the way, but I love Elf. And again, that's part of
Yeah.
that, like having fun, and just like she just went out and did something that was good for her. She needed to laugh. And so she went and did it. And that is amazing. You might find yourself doing something you're like, I would never normally do this. I'm gonna go out to that restaurant that I like by myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Elf. I love Elf. This makes me
Me too.
laugh.
Me too.
Love it.
And laughter is important, y'all. Laughter is
Yes.
healing. So
Thank
find
you for saying
ways
that.
to laugh. You don't always have to be like, oh, I shouldn't laugh. No, you can laugh even when you're sad and sorrowful. It's
Yeah.
great. Find
Yes.
something that you way you can laugh. I don't if it's laughing at Elf, if it's laughing at Portia's gold piece
Gold,
right there,
wholeness, yeah.
Yeah, jingle bells.
uh, costume. I love it. You know, find ways to laugh. Find ways to enjoy yourself. And laughter does a lot of healing for the heart. You know, get and laugh with your kids. Kids love to see us laugh. Our kids, I think, feel happier and safe when they see us smile and laugh. Because something about that, I feel like, to them tells them that everything's okay. You know, so it's okay for your kids to see you crying. My goodness, my daughter sees me cry all the time. And I just say, you know what? It's okay. You know, and it's okay for them to see me cry. But it's okay to see me laugh because that's part of life. Laughter and crying are both simultaneously there. Because if you can't cry, you ain't gonna feel joy and you ain't gonna laugh. You have to be able to embrace both emotions. And so find ways to laugh this season and enjoy it.
Yes, get a good laugh, a really, really, really good laugh. And if you feel like you can't figure out something to laugh, call someone you know who will make you laugh. Watch a movie that you know will make you laugh. Like, enjoy the season, laugh, cry if you need to, but most importantly, laugh.
Yes. And for me, getting in nature is huge. Every year, the week for Christmas, I find a way to get in nature. I'm going to nature today. But yes, getting in nature, you know, whatever it is, whatever is healing for you, find that way too, just there during the season, because it's just really important to find ways to soothe ourselves and ground ourselves. And I know nature does not do that for everybody, but being active in nature does it for me. So find what that does, what it is for you, and make sure you give yourself time to do that before Christmas season this year, just so you can have time to invest in yourself as well before the holidays.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, that's really good.
What about y'all? Do y'all have any ways that y'all self-soothe?
Music.
Self-soothe? Music.
Music is my thing. Yes. Music, listening to good music, whether it's worship or it's like something that's nostalgic, listening to good music or my favorite Christmas music by my favorite R&B like artists or jazz artists is the best thing. Like music is my thing. Or watching a good movie, watching some old movie, a good movie. Hey, did y'all see that they have the extension of the Christmas Story that came out?
I watched it on Saturday.
You did?
Yeah.
Was it good?
It's not terrible. It's definitely in the vein of like corny Christmas movies, but not as good as the first one. But I mean, my family and I, we watched that movie a couple times, the Christmas Story.
Right.
Almost a couple times every Christmas because I think the whole thing is hilarious, and I just laugh and laugh and laugh. And then the second one was okay. It was baking day at my parents' house, so we were over there, and my dad puts on the Christmas movies, and we make the cookies. So it was
nice
for memories and laughs. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you seen Maverick City Christmas music, Porscha?
Huh?
Maverick City has a Christmas album.
Yes, they do. It's a really good Christmas album too.
Yes.
We'll have to check it out. I love Christmas music. My kids are always
did
like,
they come out with a new one?
They've been singing Mary Did You Know? I don't know if you've heard it or not, but they have a song, Mary Did You Know, by Maverick City Christmas Music, and I have been loving that one. They're very spontaneous, like spirit-led music, and I know you love them too. So I was like, you need to check out that Christmas album. It is good.
Yeah. The other things I've been working on, like even this morning, working on dealing with some stuff, and this is what I do normal all the year long, but one of the new things I've added into my I call it a practice. So it's waking up in the morning, and instead of hopping out of my bed and going and reading my Bible really quickly, I wake up and I imagine myself in a place where I'm happy and with Christ. And so I was on a retreat this fall. I was the sun was rising, and I was sitting in this chair out by a lake, and it felt like the sun was just filling me up on the inside. And I literally mean like the Son of God was filling me up on the inside. And so I go back to that memory, and I just think about that, and I think about the Lord, and I just commune with him in the morning in that way before I kind of go about all of the other pieces. And that has really begun to help me tell him, like, today I'm sad, Lord. I'm really sad because I have to go do this, or I'm really excited about this. And how do I make sure that I include you in that excitement? And but it's given me that opportunity to connect with the Lord in a more emotional, not I'm very intellectual. My brain loves to like do all the things. And so it's been really helpful to like be more connected to the Lord in this non-intellectual way and find healing from him in that way of being like, oh, yeah, that thing is hurting is hurting. And I'm going to bring that to you, Lord. And even hear from him, speak into me about what it is that he's doing and working in my heart and my mind, and finding him to be way more gracious than I am, dealing with hurts. And I'm like, okay, let's deal with them. And he's like, no, we're not ready yet. We're just going to sit here and enjoy each other's presence. And I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good, actually. So it's been a really great practice for me.
I seen this this statement earlier this morning. It says the best time of day is when you pray, because you're talking with the one who loves you the most. And I find it to be so true. Like, our creator he's loved us so much and shown that in so many ways. Like, and even for you to be even listening to this, I feel like it's God's way of showing that he loves you so, because he's giving you something to hold on to, giving you something. If you're watching this, I'm sure you've been touched by it and it's helped you in some way. I've seen a lot of the comments, but it's God's way of saying that I love you so much. Um, and that along and knowing that is a great way to stay grounded for me, especially.
Yep. That's really good.
Yes. See, is there anything else you wanted to share? One other thing that I was going to share that really helps me during the Christmas season, and I'll let y'all go share if this help, whatever else y'all have too, is finding joy. Is the Bible says it's more blessed to give than to receive. And one ways that I really find a lot of joy is being able to use pain that I've been through to be able to give back to other people, and knowing that like what within motivates other people. So it should, or motivates me to give to other people. And it's like it's kind of God's way of showing me, oh yes, I'm using this to redemption for good, because I'm able to bless this person and I see joy from being able to give to them. So find some way to give to somebody else. Maybe it's a single mom that needs encouragement. Maybe it's you have some needs and it's a single mom that needs gifts, or a single mom that needs a meal, or it's a word of encouragement to somebody, or whatever it is. Find a way to use what's within to motivate you to find some way to serve and be involved, and to use that to give to other people. And as you do, you will find just something about that just really brings a lot of healing and a lot of redemption to things. And it gives joy too at the same time, knowing that you get to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And not only does Jesus see you, but he sees others too. And he's using you to show them that he sees them. And that's just so healing. I don't know. I just feel like God pours back on you when you give to others. It's just like he pours back infinite pleasure. You can't outgive God. You just can't.
Yeah.
You can't outgive him in faithfulness.
Can't be his giving. Yeah.
No. And
no.
So the cards that we raised money for over, what day was that? Giving Tuesday, Lauren?
Yes.
Okay. So I've had several of my own clients, survivors, have been able to benefit from that. And over the weekend, they were getting them in the mail. And so I was getting all of these texts, and the blessing of getting from these women. I had one girl or one woman texting me and telling me, I'm in tears right now. I'm so grateful for this gift. I can't believe that I've gotten it. And I was able to say, like, the Lord brought this, she's saying to me, thank you. And I said, no, our donors did this. Our donors were the ones who saw you and wanted to bless you. And it was such an amazing moment for her to realize, like, I'm not the only person in her life who cares about what's happening to her. There are people out there that she doesn't even know that care about her. And it's $100. And to some people, that's not very much money, but to these women, this is a lot of money. And telling God that he sees them, or telling them that God sees them, and it was just such a blessing. So that idea of like giving, and then it was just huge. All weekend long, I was just like, oh yay, I get to pick up my phone again. Such and such is getting blessed, and how grateful I am, because people made that happen, and these survivors get to know that God cares and that he is working all of these pieces, way outside of their reality to make sure they're blessed this holiday. It's so cool.
Yes.
So true.
There's people that love them very much, and people that don't even know you that are watching this that love you and care for you because they love
Yes.
God, and they maybe are survivors themselves, or maybe they have a compassion for this and they're like, I just want you to know that you're seen. That's why they partner with us. That's why they give. That's why they bless you during the Giving Tuesday time, because there's some people, like, because God loves you and
Yes.
God puts that love for them in you in their hearts. And that's a beautiful thing to be part of.
Yeah. So cool.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, I don't want to backtrack, but I'm gonna backtrack. So, when you were speaking that it's more blessed to give, like I always, when I share my story too, I always tell that in the work that we do and I've done over the span of the past 16 years is that in so many ways, God has blessed me because I've been helping other people. Like
Mhm.
He's blessing me with more than I needed, that I didn't even know I needed in some cases,
Mhm.
because I was able to give other people what they needed to heal and to move forward in their life. That He blesses me even more for. And there's a scripture that says, "Given it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, shall men give unto your bosom." Like sometimes when we give, we get even more than what we expect. So
Yes.
it's a blessing certainly to give to others, because you just never know what God will bless you with.
Right. And that's the beauty of doing this work, right? I mean, something I tell people all the time. I love doing this working with survivors, is because one, these two lovely ladies are my coworkers and they're amazing and they love Jesus. And when we get together, we talk about Jesus. And then as we
Yes.
work with survivors, these are women who've been tested by the fire, right? And they have come out, a lot of them have come out on the other side, hurt by so many things, and yet still in love with the King of the world, still in love with baby Jesus. They're still
Mhm.
looking to him for their hope and salvation. And those women are gold. They are gold. And every week, the three of us get to have conversations with them and hear about them and be encouraged by them in Christ. And it's such a blessing and we're giving, we're technically giving of our time because we're calling them, or we're spending time on the phone with them. But it's amazing. It's a huge blessing. Both the survivors we work with and then our advocates are also amazing. Portia and I get the blessing of working with them all week long. And it is huge. Just, some of them, I call them to be like, hey, I'm having a bad day. Can we chat? It's been a huge blessing. And yeah. And you think, you go into the work thinking, oh, I'm giving, but I've received way more than I've given.
Yes, a lot of them become your friends. I'm not I'm not an advocate. Well, I'm affiliated, but I don't take cases. But people I know that you talked to at the beginning, maybe 2 years ago, are now like, man, I love that person. They're a friend, and it's just
Yeah.
amazing what God does, and like the friendship and the beauty of these souls that God sends to you or
Yeah,
brings across your path. And you're like, they're such beautiful people. And maybe you encourage them in the beginning, but at the end, they're encouraging you. And
Yes.
it's really beautiful.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally have to agree. Like I've had some encounters with even the advocates, in like, God, you ask God for things, you put your petitions before God and you just leave them there with him, and you move on with life. And then sometimes like the least expecting thing happens when you're having conversations, whether it be with an advocate or be with a survivor that you're talking to, and it's just like, okay, God, you're letting me know that you heard me. And this person is sharing something that I needed, um,
Mm-hmm.
per the request that I put before you.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's such a beautiful thing. It's really beautiful to, do this work and know that you're doing the will of God and the work of God. Um, and He's there with us every step of the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will not take a moment to not mark it and say, we would love to invite you into this work.
That's right.
We definitely can use laborers in this work. And there's a place, maybe you're hearing this, you're like, you know what? I want to give. I want to be involved. I want to be involved in blessing survivors. And it doesn't have to look the same for everybody. And not everybody is called to be an advocate. Not everybody's called to communicate. Not everybody's
Mhm.
called here. Some people are called to the court system. Some people are called to lead a support group in their church or different ways. So just whatever you feel like God is leading, we would love to invite you to be part of this work and to find women that you can pour yourself into, or just one woman you can pour yourself into to give back.
Just saying, join us. Come on, join
I
us.
thought you said, I thought it was a song that I was like slowing. I was like, did I say something?
No, keep preaching. That's what we're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But we do have a need. There is the advocacy course starting. I will not talk about it enough. January 10th, and that's correct.
Yep.
January 10th starting, and I just highly recommend that. And it's a great course to go through for yourself, and it's a great way to see if maybe you want to explore it and become an advocate and work with women. What a perfect time to make a choice to become an advocate, is Jesus is our advocate, and that's what we're pleading. He's pleading for us, interceding, and that's what we're celebrating this time of the year. And maybe the advocacy course is just great. Maybe you don't become an advocate. Maybe you become a support group leader. But having that training and knowledge is great. Like I said, I use it with communications, and whatever role you feel like God is calling you into this work to be able to give to other women. It's just great. We invite you in. So yeah, come join us. Come join our community.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, because and for those of us who are survivors, it is a way to redeem our story, and it's such a blessing to me to be able to say, like, I don't feel like I'm an instrument of God. I don't walk around every day like, hi, I'm an instrument of God. But I hear from women who say, thank you, Brooke, because what you've shared with me has helped me, right? And that is a blessing. That brings, it's never going to make what I went through good. That is good. It's not good. It's evil, right? But what came out of it, what the Lord has worked out of it, the story that he tells, because God is the one, he changes stories, right? He takes the sadness of my life and he turns it into blessing. And that, Porscha said, that overflowing. Well, the overflow of my life, now it gets to be Jesus into other people's lives. And that's a beautiful thing. And I wouldn't change what I've gone through because of what God can work through it now. So.
Yeah, I walked through it again to be the person I am today. Like, not like what the good I do, but I mean, just like to know Jesus, to be free in the way I'm free today, and to see others as he does, and to see him as I do now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trade for anything. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because there are things I learned. I had to learn going through this, and I wouldn't have learned it another way. So.
And all we're getting understanding. And when we are led by God, we come into the knowledge of things that God needs us to come into to knowledge of, like, we get more of an understanding. And if we're open, we get more of an understanding. And I, would just encourage you, just come get an understanding. Come experience what Call to Peace in the House of Peace pubs has cultivated here to create an opportunity for you to gain knowledge. And like, there was a statement that our dear friend Nicole Stania had mentioned at the end of the last session that we had last week, the last course, and she said that she would forever, I'm paraphrasing, but she will be a forever learner, and that it's just a blessing to be able to learn every day. And it truly is, because God opens the world up to us when we get more understanding, we come into more knowledge. Because when I came to the course, I've been, had encounters with domestic abuse. I knew certain things, but man, did it open up my eyes in my world a whole lot more. And I feel like that, man, I was just like, oh, what a privilege it is to be into this knowledge, and knowing that God allowed me to be in this place at this time, and to come into knowledge of so much wisdom and to understanding of research. And there's so much I did not know. And because I was open to that, man, I'm just like, God, you really allowed me to be a part of it. This is a really a movement of God, if you ask me. It's just like God is moving through the training. He is moving through the advocacy. He's moving through the organization. And I think that he's calling out people to join us in this movement. And if
Mhm.
you feel like you're a part of, you feel like you need to be a part of something more, you want to get into more knowledge, more understanding. And if you're a people helper and you want to learn more, whether you're a social worker, you're a psychologist, a doctor, a preacher, a minister, an elder, whatever person you are, if you feel like that this may be something you may be interested in, reach out to us so you
Yeah.
can get that understanding of what we're doing here. If you're just inquisitive, you just want to know what is Call to Peace doing. What is House of Peace Pubs? Let me say this too. I just find it so ironic and interesting that House of Peace Publications and Call the Peace Ministries, Peace and Peace, have gotten together to do such great things with educating
Mhm.
people and equipping
Mhm.
people on how to serve survivors of domestic abuse and coercive control. I thought that was such a coincidence, but so divine.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage you just to come through. You will have an experience. That's just somebody asked, do we experience roller coaster rides of emotions? Um, Absolutely, yes. Like, yes, yes.
How often in an hour are we talking about? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, roller coaster of emotions. Yeah. It's the hard part about Christmas, even for me, is that there's so much up and down, right? I'll remember something good. Yay, that's happy. And then, oh yeah, and then this, and then it's down. A lot of my family isn't speaking to me. And so the family that I spent a lot of my years as a young child hanging out with don't have anything to do with me. And so Christmas brings that up, and I'll have a moment of like, oh yeah, kids, we're gonna go do this and this and this, and then we'll be doing it, and also I'll be like, oh, but I'm never gonna do that again, and so it's just that up and down sadness. And it's hard. I'm definitely not the person who's like joy all the time. I'm like sorrow a lot.
Yes.
So
It's important to let yourself feel. And I'm one of those people. Like, I feel what I feel, like in that
yeah,
moment. Like, I'm
you're
not
such
gonna
a good
shy
example
away
of
from it. If that's what I feel what I feel, and I use my toolbox of things on how to cope with that
that.
feeling at that time.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
really.
I'm definitely all the feels. And I think that's just part of life. And I think sometimes we tend to think other people may have it all together, or other people, maybe this is what real Christianity is and this is what it looks like. But I think everybody up here will tell you firsthand that we are all broken people.
Yeah.
And I know these people firsthand. They cling to Jesus, they cling to Him, and they are passionate about what they do. And out of their own pain and suffering, are passionate to help other people. And I think it's not a level of perfection that we reach that we're just like, oh, now I can help people and now I can do this. It's like, no, we're just broken people that are taking our own brokenness and clinging to Jesus and giving you the hope that He gives us, and the
Yes.
training and the resources that we've been given, we're just given to you. But we
Mhm.
still experience our own highs and lows of emotions. And I know Joy would tell you the same thing about herself.
Mhm.
It's just daily a surrender to Christ. And yeah, the Christian life it's always up and down. And there's
Right.
times I feel so confident that God is so faithful and so good. And there's times that I'm just like, God, you've forsaken me. That's how I feel.
Mhm.
And I know He has not. But
Right.
that's okay to let God know that in that moment.
Right.
And
Right.
The
then I
Psalms
will
are
feel
full of that.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Megan
Um,
Rhodes. Oh, go. Are you going to do it, Portia?
you can go ahead if you like.
Megan Rose says that she just left her abuser at the beginning of this year and has an advocate of her own through CTPM. She's wondering if it's too soon to think about becoming an advocate.
So I would say it's never too soon for you to get education. So
yes.
join the advocacy course. Experience the course. It will teach you so much about yourself. It will teach you so much about other women. And I'll just say it's never too soon to take the course.
Mhm.
And that's the first thing, is to take the course. And then you will go along the way that God desires you to go.
Mhm. Couldn't
That's
say
my
it better.
Yes, I wish every survivor could take this course. No matter where you are, just take this course. And I know we have to be careful because everybody's like, "Oh, you're telling everybody to do everything." No, please take this course. Please take this. Like it's so good. Like I've taken it myself, and I had already worked for Call to Peace for a year, and I knew Joy, been through support groups, and thought I understood domestic abuse. No, I did not. I did not. I thought I knew a lot. Did not. And so I just encourage everybody to take this course. It's so healing. You will learn so much through it. So
Yeah. It would teach you so much about yourself too. Like it's a place, it's a safe, you'll find that it will probably be a safe space for you to share what you've experienced too. Because there's a lot of people in the chat that shares their experiences. They normalize things that we talk about. And so, like I said, it's never too soon to take the course.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, never. It's good. Yeah.
Yes. And so I thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. This hour has gone by. So I'm looking like, wow, this has gone by really fast. I love talking with y'all, and it's been such a great conversation. And thank you so much for coming today and being able to share your hearts. And we hope that you found encouragement. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to our advocacy course since we talked about that heavily today. So if you want to join in, starts January 10th. Welcome, please come. And we do wish all of y'all a Merry Christmas, which I know that sounds very cliche right now, but we do want to let you know that God is with you today. He is Emmanuel. He is ever present. And no matter what you're going through, if you feel like nobody knows, if you feel like nobody understands, and you feel like nobody cares, remember God knows, God understands, God cares. Not only that, he catches every tear that you cry, he sees your every thought, and he loves you. He fully knows and fully loves you. And so in that thought, I hope that propels you forward to reach out to somebody today, whether it's a Call to Peace advocate, your support group leader, or someone. There is somebody there that understands and cares. And so we're praying for you and cheering for you. And we will see you in the new year.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!